South Africa is starting the process to gradually reopen the economy. It will be a slow and long process. From May the 1st, some businesses will be allowed to restart. The government's announced a $26 billion stimulus plan, along with other measures. And the president says the crisis is an opportunity as well as a challenge.
We are resolved not to merely return our economy to where it was before the coronavirus, but to forge a new economy in a new global reality. Our economic strategy going forward will require a new social compact amongst all role players: business, labor, community, and government, to restructure the economy and to achieve inclusive growth.
Trudi Makhaya is the president's economic advisor to South Africa. She joins me now. Thank you, ma'am, for joining me. Listening to the plan, I mean, thank God it would seem that South Africa has dodged the worst potential of the crisis. Can you say that you are out of the woods yet?
Thank you, Richard, for having me on your show. It's not easy to ever say that you're out of the woods, but it's clear that our approach to having a strict lockdown for a significant amount of time that gave us some breathing room to ensure that we jack up our infrastructure, we come up with systems to think about how to sanitize public spaces, how to gradually reopen the economy. So all told, by the 1st of May, we would have had 35 days of lockdown, and then we would move to a risk-based system where we would, move to a lower level, level 4 we call it, versus level 5, which is total lockdown. And over time, guided by evidence, we will change and adjust accordingly. But I think in terms of planning and giving some time to properly consider and to ramp up the response, I think we've used that time, and hopefully it will ensure that we don't see the worst, that we're prepared for when infection rates ever increase.
What help do you need from the international community? Because the G7, the G20, the IMF, the World Bank, they've all put programs in place. But I'm wondering how you can take advantage of them. Do you need debt relief? Do you need loans on concessionary terms? What is it you need?
I think it's a full range. South Africa is a G20 member, and, using all the platforms we have, holding the AU presidency, we've been arguing very strongly for our own country, but for the continent, the African continent as a whole, that much like climate change, this is a global pandemic. There should be a global response that looks into our economies and ensures that we're able to survive this and we're able to emerge on a stronger footing. So it would start with support in terms of concessional relief that has been offered by the international financial institutions, concessional relief that acknowledges that we don't have much fiscal space and we need to be able to access money at a very affordable rate at this time. It also includes debt standstills and other measures of debt relief that will ensure that money is directed towards the health and economic response in the short term and not to debt. So we've argued for a debt standstill. We've argued for support ranging from 100, it could go up to $200 billion of support for the continent.
What assurance can you give, bearing in mind South Africa's past, that any of the aid and any of the money will be properly directed and won't be siphoned off? I normally wouldn't ask this question, but if you look at this history of the country, particularly under state capture, it's entirely legitimate to ask to make sure that such a large stimulus plan and external help doesn't go missing.
So, Richard, we're putting a significant part of our own resources as a country into this stimulus, so it's not about aid. Of course, we'll be tapping into concessional financing. I think our president has been very clear that, state capacity, ensuring that we have a strong state that delivers, is key to his economic program and to his agenda of governance as a whole. We've had investigations into state capture, into malfeasance at the PIC, at the Revenue Authority. So we've had investigations. We understand the scale of the problem. There are remedial measures in place, and there are also prosecutions to follow to ensure that this doesn't happen again. So I think we're rebuilding the system, and we're ensuring that our governance goes back to what it was, 10, 15 years ago.